Hi, my name is Rikla5, and what I'll be doing with this channel is I'll be going over game development. I'm not a professional game developer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a hobbyist who's had a long and interesting relationship with game development for many years, and by interesting, I mean I've loved it from afar. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to take a look at a tool that I've recently discovered, and hopefully I'll be making a video blog about my experience with that tool as I develop two games. One of them for my daughter as a learning experience, and the other one just because I want to. So the very first thing to do is to determine what type of engine you're going to need. I've played with a lot of different engines. The App Game Kit, Game Maker Studio, Unity, Blender, the Unreal Development Kit, or Unreal 4 now, and a couple of others. The one that I've played around with most is actually the Quake 1 engine. And the nice thing with id Software is they've released the source code for most of their older engines as GPL or MIT license, or I can't remember which license. Basically, you can grab it and have fun with it. You can even use it in commercial products, I believe. You have to take a look. You can't use the assets, but the actual engine itself, the base engine itself, you can. And somebody's actually taken the base Quake 1 engine and given it a bit of a facelift. Now, this is an ancient project by now, but it still looks just mind-bogglingly amazing. Unfortunately, the Quake 1 engine's got a lot of restrictions and limitations that are hard-coded in that nobody can get around. For example, doing rotating brushes and things like that is just a pain. But if you're interested, one thing that's really worth a look is the Darkplaces Engine, which is basically just the Quake 1 engine given a kick in the butt so that it's somewhere in the 2010s instead of whenever it was created originally. Here's actually a screenshot of Quake 1, the actual original Quake 1, playing on the Darkplaces engine with a high texture pack, and you can tell here there's actual proper shadows being emitted by every light source, even on all the models and the boxes, the actual enemies, and the other types of models, which are the game elements and so on. It's pretty crazy. It runs beautifully. The maps can be like something crazy, like 20 times the size of the old maps. There's a lot that went into it, but it still has some severe limitations. But that's one of the things that's kind of interesting. So if you Google Darkplaces Quake 1, you'll be able to find it. You'll be able to download the engine. You'll be able to get links to high texture packs and stuff like that, and just have a blast running through the old Quake 1 game on an engine that looks, even today, pretty modern. And that's it, but that's not what we're going to play with. What I'm going to be playing with now is what's called the Godot engine. You can find this on Steam. It's free. It's actually open source. It's a 2D, 3D engine that allows you to... I'm just going to delete this. Remove. It's a 2D, 3D engine that's completely free. It looks really interesting. I haven't played with it much yet because I've just started with this, but yeah, I'm going to document my experiences with this in a video blog. So the first thing we're going to do is here's the Godot engine. You can get it on Steam, or you can get it you can find it online, or just get it off Steam, which is basically the easiest way of doing it anyways. We're going to take a quick look at it. When you start it up, there's a command prompt in the back that kind of does a bit of the back-end stuff. And in the front here, we've got the project manager, where you can load up a bunch of projects and control your own projects. You can see here there's a bunch of demo projects, some really cool. We're just going to go into one real quick just to have a quick look at some of the capabilities of the engine. Here we go. We're going to run right in. I'm going to go into more detail about what all of this is. For example, this is actually a 3D a 3D game, we'll say. We've got like our scene and everything in that scene, file system explorer, a properties explorer on this side. But that's not important. Let's just take a look at some of the capabilities of this engine. So this is an actual interface in 3D that's actually usable and could be programmed to do things. As you can see, whenever I click up here, things actually change. On a 3D axis, which is kind of crazy. And this is just one example. I'm just going to close that off. Quit to project list. Yeah. All right, so we're back to our project list. So if we take a look at this, there's things like GUIs in 3D, screen capturing, 3D platformers, 3D models in a 2D environment. You can create paper doll cutouts for your animations, for your game characters. You can load things in threads. There's some rudimentary physics. There's a lot of very interesting options in this. So we'll take a quick look at another one. Here's a quick little splash screen demo that they made, just to kind of show off how the logic of the system works. So, yeah. And this was created with like 5 or 6 elements. There's no scripting at all, from what I can tell. It's all based on actual properties. There's some animation involved, I believe, on some of the elements. Yeah, there you see you've got the scrolling backdrops have an animation to them. But it's all fairly simple and looks pretty awesome. So let's go back to our project list, and what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new project. So new project, we're going to browse, we're going to go and let's do this first. Browse, let's go back up one, create a new folder, Hello World 3. Oh, if you're wondering about the people in the background, that's not myself. It's actually clients. I do wedding photography and videography and other types of photography. For example, I've got a client coming in for portraits tomorrow. So that's not me. I'll have to block that out. Okay, so we've got a Hello World 3 created. It actually gives it the name of the folder, so I don't have to do anything else. And then we load it up. And as you go in, what you get to see is you actually get to see an interface. Right now we're in 3D. That's not what we want, because I'm going to be focusing on 2D. My plan is to create 2 different projects. One of them is going to be a paper doll dress-up game. I've got a 4-year-old daughter who likes to play them, and I just want to be able to put something on her tablet that's not filled with ads and video pop-ups and all those annoying things. So I'll be using public domain resources. I found a few templates that I can use and so on, and I'm not too bad at Photoshop, considering I do photography and videography. And then I'd like to do a 2D style Metroid, Castlevania type of game. That's my end point. Okay, so, but for now, we'll start with the good old traditional Hello World. So we're in our scene. The first thing is what we see here is our canvas, or our workspace. Here we've got the controls to play, stop, and debug and all that. The actual script, not the script, but the application. We've got our file system explorer here, which is kind of relative to the actual project and not it's not relative to the hard drive, but relative to the actual where the project is instead. And here we've got the object inspector. That's basically it. Yeah, so first thing you need to do when you create a new project is add a node. The way that the system works is it's very hierarchical. It's all about inherited elements. So you've got a parent element and it's got children, and it's all about nodes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our nodes and we're going to create a control node, which is kind of just a blank generic node. Yeah, kind of a blank generic node. I'm just going to stretch it out because that's how I roll. And then we're going to add to that just a basic, what is it called again? A label. There you go. Add a basic label, and you'll notice that here that it's a parent of control. What we need to do right now is one of the things that's important to understand about this system is that when we're going to reference things in code, it references the name, and contrarily to any other application that has a property inspector, the name can only be edited here under the scene elements. There's no name field in the inspector, which is just mind-bogglingly retarded. So we're just going to call this label 1. That's its name. Not label, but label. Thank you. Label 1. So I'm going to grab label 1. I'm just going to stretch it all out because that's the only thing that's going to be in the scene. I'm going to give it a text right off the bat of hello world, and then I'm going to go and set it center. There you go. And there you go. We've got our hello world. Now let's test that out. It won't really do much, but it gives us a good idea. The first thing when you create a new project, you have to go into your, you have to save it first of all. You have to save the scene. And we're going to save that scene as, we're just going to call it SC1 for scene 1. Save. Then once you've done that, you have to go into your project settings, set a main scene, and that main scene is going to be basically the scene that gets loaded originally, right? So we're going to go File, and we're going to load Scene 1 as our main scene, and now we can test. Alright, and we hit play, and there we are. We have a hello world. Hooray! So we got our hello world application. That's, alright, I guess. It's nothing too crazy. It doesn't really do anything. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit more detailed. So we're going to still keep all of this. We're going to go and add a button. Button for button. Where's buttons? That's a button group. No, that's not what I want. Tool button. Button. There we go. So we're going to add a button. We're going to grab this button. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to put it right here. I'm now going to go to my label. Change its size a bit so that it doesn't take the whole scene, because now it's not alone in the world. What are you doing here? Okay, that's weird. Alright. And here we go. Now, you'll notice that button is suddenly a child of label. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to change its parent, and its parent is actually now control, reparent. There you go. Which is why it was moving along with the other thing. Alright. Okay, so we're going to put text. We're going to say, click me. Booyah. And hello world, I'm going to remove the text. So what we're going to do now is we are going to add a script by clicking here. We're going to add a script to the control because it's the parent, so that way the script will affect everything that's under control. So we're going to create a script and just create. Awesome. And here we've got like a text editor type of thing. And we've got a function ready, which is kind of like a jQuery JavaScript on load or on page ready, which is what it's going to do when... Okay, so now we have our actual script editor. And in our script editor, what we're going to do is we are going to tell our script when I press the button, put some text in label 1. And I could do that using basically the plugin section over here. Let's go over here. I could go to button, click this, and say on press, and then kind of use the visual scripting. But here I want to show I'm kind of sort of following along with an existing tutorial. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do this in code just to give you an idea about the power of the coding in the back of this system. So the very first thing what we're going to do is we are going to show you how to get some information. So the first thing is I'm going to create a new function, and that function is going to be on button press. On button pressed. Oh, and the end of the function here, because I always forget that. So on button pressed. So in here, what we're going to do is we are going to get a node. And what that means is we are going to what we're actually going to do is we're telling it with this node, which is going to be label 1, because I've named it label 1 over here. So whenever a button gets pressed, whenever a button gets pressed, what we need to do is I want you to set the text hello world. Hopefully this actually works, because yeah, excellent. And now what's going to happen here is this is the function that's actually going to change the text, but what I want to do now is I need to tell it that when something gets pressed, like when the actual button gets pressed, to do that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get another node, and this time the node is going to be button. Alright. Actually, this might actually be case sensitive, so we're going to do that correctly. Yeah, it is case sensitive. Okay. So button, and what we're going to do is we're going to connect it. And whenever it is pressed, so that's the signal. So whenever it is pressed, what we're going to do is we are going to call the function that we just created above, which is on button pressed. There's actually a text version of this tutorial somewhere else, and so what I'll do is I'll actually link it in the comments. And that's it. Literally, this should work now. So what it'll do is I'm going to save. There you go. And we're just going to try to run it. It might crash because I'm not terribly good at this. Yeah, I did something wrong here. Oh, I forgot an underscore in front of my function. So give me a sec. Here we go. Run. And now when I click this, ta-da! And like I said, we could have done this in a couple of clicks instead by using the built-in functions, but this gives us a general idea of how good the system is, like the actual programming. There's quite a bit of power here in the back end. Yeah, and that's basically the essentials of it. There's a ton more. I'm slowly going to be discovering this. My first project that I'm going to be working on is, like I said, a paper doll dress-up game for my 4-year-old, so I can export it to Android and have it on her tablet and my tablet and my phone, and that way she's got something to play with whenever she decides she wants to play paper paper doll. So we're going to be importing graphics, we're going to be importing sound. I'm going to show you where I've been getting graphics, where I'm going to get sound. There's a lot of interesting resources available to developers and filmmakers and all that fun stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So hopefully if you like this, you'll hit a like and subscribe, and I'll have more of this going on. I'm hoping to do maybe an episode a week, though I'm going on vacation next week, so it's a bad start. But after that, I'm hoping to do 1 or 2 episodes a week, and hopefully people will enjoy this, and we'll be creating interesting things together. I'll see you guys later.